Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, February 15th. Quite a historic day in terms of cold temperatures across much of the middle part of the nation. We have some all-time low temperature records really in the area from the Dakotas all the way down to Texas. And we'll take a look at some of those records or near record lows over the next couple of minutes. We have rain and freezing rain headed to the mid-Atlantic region. It does not look like a significant ice event for the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. There certainly can be some icing later today and tonight, well to the north and west of the metro areas. But again, it looks like it'll be confined to areas far north and west of the immediate I-95 corridor region. There will be a second storm later in the week that will have more cold air to deal with on its front end. As a result, there can be accumulating snow, let's say late Wednesday night, early Thursday in the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor before a likely changeover to a wintry mix. More on that second storm over the next couple of days here. First of all, this is a forecast map from yesterday's European model for the temperature anomalies at 2 meters, basically surface level, for midday, early afternoon today. Just amazing here. What we're seeing down in this region here is more than 50 degrees below normal. And this is truly historic cold. Many areas have reached their all-time low temperature record already today, and it's still kind of early out there in the middle part of the nation. Again, extending all the way from the Dakotas down to Texas. Many areas had some accumulating snow late last night into the morning hours, all the way down to the Gulf coastal region of Texas. Ice has been a problem. Just an amazing weather pattern here for the middle part of the nation. Well, this is a map from coolweather.com that shows record low temperatures or near record low temperatures, and it's obviously quite numerous cases here across the center part of the nation at 13Z. It's still a little bit early in the day, but some amazing temperature records being set here. If we roam over these black circles, you can see, for example, right here, Hastings, Nebraska, the all-time temperature record. Now, this is unofficial, but this is what we're looking at right now. Unofficial, we have an all-time temperature record, for example, at Hastings, Nebraska, minus 23 degrees. We keep roaming over some of these. We have many monthly records for the month of February being set. This particular one, Russell, Kansas, minus 18 degrees. Here's another all-time low temperature record, Liberal Municipal, Kansas, minus about 15 degrees below zero. Even all the way down into Texas. Look at this, in Victoria, Texas, the lowest temperature ever in the month of February. 14 degrees all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Here's another, Houston, Texas, 14 degrees all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And we have numerous monthly records, and again, there are low temperature records set, and even down here in northeastern Mexico, an all-time low temperature record of 22 degrees above zero at this particular hour. Just amazing record. I have a list here of places that I saw in the last couple of hours reached all-time low temperature records. Yankton, South Dakota, minus 26 degrees. Ord, Nebraska, minus 35 degrees. Clinton, Oklahoma, minus 5. Fort Hood, Texas, 5 degrees above. Just an amazing weather pattern this morning. And again, truly indeed, some historic cold in that part of the nation. Well, take a look at the radar map this morning. This is an animation of the radar images for the last couple of hours here from WSI's Intellicast.com. Blue represents snow, pink, ice. And look at this. We have snow and ice all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico here, the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, Texas. Snow passed through much of the state of Texas in the overnight hours. Another storm now starting to show some decent snow across the Pacific Northwest. This particular system pulls out to the north and east and well to the west of the I-95 corridor region. Hence, it will be a quite a snowstorm for the Ohio Valley. Places like Indiana, much of Ohio easily can see more than a foot of snow out of this particular system. Meanwhile, in the immediate I-95 corridor region and points to the south and east of there, primarily a rain event. It could fall heavily in the overnight hours. Again, there can be some icing in some of the far northern western suburbs in the I-95 corridor region, far to the north and west of the district, Philadelphia, and New York City. And certainly some significant icing possible across, let's say, the Lehigh Valley, where there's still significant snow cover, northeastern part of Pennsylvania, up in the higher elevations of the Poconos, for example. They can have some significant icing in the overnight hours. By the way, with this particular cold and snow and ice, a lot of power outages. Last report, there was already as much as 20 or 25% of Texas is without power, and that's a dangerous situation when you have this kind of cold, and you could have power outages spreading across the southern states, including northern Alabama, for example, Huntsville. Significant ice storm on the way for Huntsville, Alabama over the next 12 to 24 hours or so. Power outages certainly, unfortunately, on the table throughout this region of the country, the southern part of the nation. Well, let's take a look at last night's zero-Z run of the GFS model. We're dealing with two different storms over the next few days here. One, again, is moving to the north and east today. We'll have a significant path, a path of significant snow and ice from Texas, Louisiana, all the way up to the Ohio Valley. Big snowstorm coming to places like Indiana and much of Ohio with this particular system. From the I-95 corridor region, south and east, primarily a rain event. There's a second storm coming later in the week. It takes a little bit farther of a track to the east, and that'll result in a colder solution for the mid-Atlantic region. I think there's a decent chance of some accumulating snow at the onset, let's say very late Wednesday night, early Thursday, even in D.C., let's say the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. That Thursday event could start off with colder air in place and high pressure to the north, potentially leading to accumulating snow at the onset. For today, a big storm here over the south central states with snow and ice in unusual places all the way down into the deep south. Again, a significant ice storm could spread into northern Alabama over the next few hours. Power outages, the result, already a whole bunch in Texas, and that kind of a problem will extend all the way to the east today with this impending ice storm. Now let's move forward here. That storm again moves to the north and east, to the north and west of the I-95 corridor region, and that kind of a track gives a tremendous snowstorm for northern and western Ohio, all of Indiana here, easily a foot or more, and an ice storm as well across the Ohio River. Again, ice storm from the Gulf coastal region all the way up to the Ohio Valley. Notice not a heck of a lot of precipitation here throughout much of the day in the mid-Atlantic region. Kind of spotty rain, freezing rain at times in the I-95 corridor region from the midday through the afternoon. The heavier rain comes overnight, and again, can be some icing well to the north and west of the big cities, but it does not look like a significant ice event, certainly not for the big cities along the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City corridor. Let's move forward here. Even some heavy rainfall, maybe even a rumble of thunder, a thunderstorm possible overnight. I-95 points to the south and east, and certainly warms to conditions above freezing on Tuesday, well up in the 40s in some parts of the mid-Atlantic region's I-95 corridor area. Then we move forward to the second storm later in the week, and notice right here, Wednesday night, we have cold high pressure really extending all the way from south central Canada into the northeastern U.S. There will be certainly a colder air mass ahead of this next system as compared with this initial system, and again, that could lead to some accumulating snow at the onset here. Let's move forward. Forecast map for Thursday morning. Cold high pressure over New England. Cold air damming situation here in place. Could even be an outbreak of accumulating snow in D.C. late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and then later in the morning maybe across Philadelphia, New York City. All of this potentially accumulating snow at the onset of the second storm. Now eventually, does change over to a wintry mix. We have a significant icing as a possibility, and maybe even plain rain across the immediate I-95 corridor region, but a little bit different of a storm later in the week as compared with this initial one. Again, this initial one primarily a rain event for DC, Philly, New York City. Later in the week, late Wednesday night, Thursday into Thursday night, absolutely there's a threat of some accumulating snow at the onset. Probably changes over to freezing rain and then rain, but again, watch out for at least part of the time on Thursday. That moves on out, and then we have basically a cold, dry weather pattern to end the work week and to begin the upcoming weekend. So 2 storms to deal with over the next few days. Historic cold right now occurring across much of the central U.S. all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Many areas have seen their all-time low temperature record, and a whole bunch of areas have also seen their coldest temperature ever in the month of February. So a lot going on. Stay tuned to PerspectiveWeather.com for updates later today and later this week. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.